What's the difference between Hard Man and Heat Man? One is heavy, and the other one's a little lighter. Please laugh. You may wonder why I'm dressed in a 2000s style today. Well, it's because today, we're talking about the 21st century. You know, the century that Mega Man is supposedly set in, and the century that, as of the time I'm recording this, we're already a quarter of the way through. Now, when it comes to media that's set in the future, writers like to give a definitive year for that work to be set in, either to establish how distantly in the future it's set, or just because it's more dramatic to say, the year is 2135 at the beginning of your movie or whatever. But the thing about the future is that it always comes, and it's inevitable that a few of the predictions made in these works of fiction aren't going to become real by that self-imposed deadline. In addition, there are many cases where writers assumed something that existed at the time would be around forever. Like how Cold War-era sci-fi assumed that the Soviet Union would still exist and be a major world superpower 100 years later. This tends to make works that were supposed to be futuristic come off as awkwardly dated. However, what fascinates me more about these types of works is not what they got wrong, but what they got right. That's right, move over, Simpsons! We're talking about times that Mega Man predicted the future. It seems like if you come up with enough ideas for a sci-fi series, eventually someone is going to make some of those ideas real. And Mega Man is no exception. We live in a time when technology is more advanced than it has ever been before. In fact, I believe I heard somewhere that modern computers are as advanced as they can possibly be because transistors can only get so small. Don't quote me on that though. I don't want a bunch of IT guys correcting me in the comments. And robots are becoming more and more advanced every day, to the point where in this current year, there are many homes and businesses that use robots to help with tasks. So I did my research, read all sorts of tech-centered news articles, and I found some things that we have nowadays that are eerily similar to the technology in the Mega Man Classic series. Now, as I said, I'm going to be focusing on the Classic series in this video, as the X, Zero, and Legend series are set too far forward in the future for us to really tell if they predicted anything. And Battle Network is set in a parallel universe version of the decade it was released, where internet technology advanced at a faster rate than it did in our world, so they already wrote an out for themselves. Also, I am not claiming that Mega Man was the first work of fiction to come up with every single thing in this video. Many of them have likely been done before or since in sci-fi. But regardless, they showed up in the Mega Man series, so I'm counting them. So without further ado, time to see how life imitated art. Here are 12 technological inventions that Mega Man predicted. Let's start with an easy one, and one that you're probably already aware of. You know Dust Man, right? The Robot Master from Mega Man 4 who gives you the Dust Crusher? Well, Dust Man is said to have been made for sanitation purposes, and the big vent on his head is actually a vacuum cleaner that sucks up garbage. Robots with built-in vacuum cleaners had shown up multiple times in fiction before then, likely because doing chores is very high on the list of things that few people want to do, so not many people would complain about it if we let machines do it. Even the Mega Man cartoon gave role disability, as she was built to be a housekeeper for Dr. Light. And as it turns out, robots with built-in vacuum cleaners were actually one of the earliest things that roboticists were able to figure out and mass market. As early as 1996, only 5 years after the release of Mega Man 4, the company Electrolux had released a robot that can vacuum floors, the Electrolux Trilobite. However, the Trilobite had many problems, especially as it pertained to navigation, and was discontinued. Later, in 2002, we saw the release of the most famous robotic vacuum cleaner, the Roomba. Created by the company iRobot, Roombas are equipped with built-in vacuum cleaners, wheels to help it move, and sensors to navigate their way around a home. At some point in the 2010s, Roombas became affordable enough that many middle-class people started buying it for their homes. In fact, I bet some of you own a Roomba right now, and more of you probably know someone who does. And just like how Dustman was reprogrammed to be a combat robot, there are hundreds of photos of people who have taped knives to their Roombas and turned them into little assassins. In Mega Man 3, the utility items that Mega Man had used in the previous game were replaced by a very good boy named Rush, who had become a staple of the series. Rush can turn into a springboard, a hoverboard, a submarine, a spaceship, and even a super adapter. He can also sniff and search for hidden treasures in later games. But most importantly, he's a robotic dog. And believe it or not, there are quite a few robotic dogs that are being used today. One of the most well-known robotic dogs is Spot, a robot created by Boston Dynamics and introduced in 2016. Spot can be programmed to do a variety of helpful actions, including opening doors. Most Spots are used by the military, the police, or as security guards. If you're looking for a robot dog that's a bit more realistic, on January 9th of this year, Tombot revealed a robotic dog named Jenny, who is designed to look and act just like a real dog without needing to be fed or housebroken. She's like the final evolution of those Fur Real Friends toys from the late 2000s. Jenny is designed to be a more affordable and manageable version of a therapy dog, for people who struggle with their mental health but don't have enough space or money to own a real dog. She reacts if you pet her, responds to your commands, and is rechargeable. However, no one has made a robotic dog that can turn into a vehicle yet. Maybe some inventor should get on that. While we're on the topic of Mega Man's animal companions, remember Beat? The robotic bird that Dr. Cossack built and gave to Mega Man? Beat was introduced in Mega Man 5 and was unlocked if you collected a hidden letter in each of the Robot Master stages. In Mega Man 6, you needed to find a hidden letter in 4 of the stages. In 7, you needed to save him in Slash Man stage. In 8, you needed to collect a power-up, and from 9 onwards, you could call him by purchasing an item at the shop. Beat can lift you up if you fall down a pit, but in earlier games he could also attack enemies. Believe it or not, robotic birds like Beat not only exist, but are actually being used by the Chinese military. In August of 2024, the People's Liberation Army revealed a robotic sparrow that looks and moves just like a real sparrow. They plan to use it for spying, surveying enemy bases, and even to attack. I find it a bit odd that the Chinese military modeled their robo-bird after a species that Chairman Mao tried to exterminate in the 50s, but to be fair, Mao killing all those sparrows is widely considered one of the biggest mistakes he ever made and contributed to the worst famine in Chinese history, so I guess it's all water under the bridge between the CCP and the Eurasian tree sparrow. And robotic birds have been used well before this. A Dutch company called the Drone Bird Company creates robotic birds of prey to scare away other birds. They're used by farms to protect the crops from herbivores that could eat them, and by airports to fly next to the plane and keep birds away from the plane engine. There are even hobbyists who build robotic birds and fly them around for fun. So, in this current year that we are living in, Beat could exist. I don't think he'd be able to pick you up if you fall unless he was the size of an Andean condor, but still, he could exist. Continuing the theme of Mega Man's little buddies, let's talk about Eddie, the item transportation robot that first appeared in Mega Man 4. Eddie was created by Dr. Light to deliver useful items to Mega Man. He's equipped with a sensor so he can know where Mega Man is, and can dispense things like health and ammo refills, 1-ups, and even E-tanks. In the NES days, he'd show up in a stage you were in and give you a random item, but from Mega Man and Base onwards, you have to get an Eddie call from the shop in order to use him. And believe it or not only do I know for a fact that something like Eddie exists in real life right now, I have first-hand experience with it. During my senior year of college, my campus started using these delivery robots, which we could use to deliver food to us using an app. I never got around to downloading the app, but I did often see those little guys scurrying along the sidewalks as I was walking around campus. And after doing some research, I found out that these delivery robots are made by an Estonian company called Starship Technologies, and have been used to deliver goods since 2017. They're very similar to Eddie, being short and squat with a flip-top design, and are usually used to deliver food, which is basically the real-life equivalent of a health-restoring item, and is used as such in many other games. Makes you wonder if anyone at Starship Technologies played Mega Man as a kid. In the Mega Man series, we've seen several robots that look like they were designed for warfare, like Commando Man, Search Man, and Napalm Man, who, by the way, is a big fan of my work. However, robots are designed to help people, not harm people. So nobody in real life would create war robots, right? Well, you'd be wrong. In December of 2024, the Ukrainian military used a combination of land-based robots equipped with machine guns and aerial drones to attack their Russian foes. It was their first ever attack on Russian positions using exclusively unmanned technologies. Ukraine has a much smaller population than Russia does, so since the start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Ukrainian scientists have been trying to come up with ways to fight back with as few people involved as possible. So they came up with robots. In July of 2024, it was reported that Ukrainian startups were developing an army of low-cost robots to counter the Russian army. And according to Reuters, they are now working on robots that can lay down and deactivate mines, evacuate wounded soldiers, and deliver ammo and supplies to the battlefield. Some people have expressed concerns that creating robots for war would be a slippery slope that leads to straight-up killer robots. But Ukraine is primarily concerned with the survival of their people and country, and these robots are just one of the many ways that they plan to achieve that goal. And honestly, I hope they succeed. We all remember the iconic opening of Mega Man 2, right? With Mega Man standing on the roof of a skyscraper, his dark hair blowing in the wind. It's one of the most iconic scenes, not just in the Mega Man series, but in gaming as a whole. And Mega Man isn't the only robot in the series who is shown to have hair. Roll, of course, has long blonde tresses tied back in a ponytail, and Proto Man has an upward swoosh of brown hair that I'm surprised he's able to fit under his helmet. But that got me thinking, are there any robots who have hair in real life? And the answer to that is, yeah, there are. Sure, it might seem frivolous to put hair on a robot, but when dolls have had realistic hair for decades and most wigs nowadays are made of fake hair rather than real hair, it's not too much of a stretch. For example, at CES 2025, a robot named Aria was introduced, who was designed to look just like a human woman, right down to her long blonde hair. And her creators say you can switch out her hair to give her whatever color or style you wish. In Mega Man 7, we were introduced to Turbo Man, a robot master that can turn into a car and drive around. So basically, Bumblebee from Transformers. Apparently, Turbo Man used to be an actual car that Wily owned, but was reassembled and modified into a humanoid combat robot that can move around without the need of a driver. And if you've been paying any attention to tech news from the mid-2010s onwards, you'll know that cars that drive on their own is something that car companies have been making significant strides in. In 2015, a company named Delphi built a mostly self-driving car that successfully drove from San Francisco to New York City in just 9 days, with the only human input being when it was time to get off the highway. From that day forward, companies rushed to create the first truly self-driving car. The first company to create self-driving taxis was Waymo, which launched in Arizona in 2018 and began offering fully autonomous rides in 2020. Waymo is still around today and is offering rides in Phoenix, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, with plans to expand east in the future. In 2021, Nuro launched self-driving delivery vehicles to deliver pizzas and other goods, and became the first company to receive an autonomous exemption from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. However, self-driving cars still have a lot of issues to work through before they can become commonplace. Namely, issues relating to collisions. However, it's worth noting that even in the Mega Man series, self-driving cars are a rarity. We see self-driving trucks, yes, but most vehicles that carry people are driven by someone. And we've already seen a lot of success with self-driving cars that carry cargo and no people. So while Mega Man is ahead of us with self-driving cars, their world is also apprehensive about humans being transported in them. Once again, we return to the robots of Mega Man 4. The robots of Mega Man 4 were largely created by Dr. Cossack to help people and were repurposed for battle, with the exception of Skullman and Ringman, who were made on Dr. Wily's orders to fight Mega Man. And even in Ringman's case, the Mega Man Megamix manga said that Ringman was created as a police robot, with his ring boomerang working similarly to handcuffs. Some of the robots in Mega Man 4 have jobs that one would expect to be automated, like Drillman, who was built to dig tunnels. But what about Brightman? What purpose does a robot with a light bulb on his head serve? According to the Robot Master Field Guide, Dr. Cossack built Brightman to light up dark areas. So, essentially, he's a lamp. Why would you give a lamp mobility and sentience? Lamps don't need to move around or think. Or do they? At CES 2025, a Japanese company called Jizai revealed a robot called the Mimo, which has a lamp for a head and a table-like body. Mimo can move around using its 6 legs and can shine the light from its lamp head onto things. In addition, it uses artificial intelligence and can think, act, and adapt with the help of audio, visual, and movement indicators. According to Jizai, Mimo can be very useful in offices, homes, and even hospitals. So it seems like there's a market for a robot like Brightman. The first batch of Robot Masters in Mega Man 1 contains some of the most iconic Robot Masters ever. Many people who only have surface-level knowledge of Mega Man will still know about robots like Cutman, Gutsman, and Elecman. And one member of this iconic group is Iceman. In the Mega Man lore, Iceman was built for polar exploration, and designed to work well in cold temperatures. This is a pretty understandable thing to build a robot for. I hate going out in the cold, as do many people, so it's only natural that we should build robots to go out into the cold for us. And, as it turns out, we already have robots exploring polar areas. In Antarctica, AI-equipped robotic rovers are being used right now to study penguin behavior. Thanks to them, we know more about emperor penguins than ever before. We haven't yet equipped them with ice slashers, though. Space, the final frontier. That thing I've been fascinated by since I was a little kid, though you wouldn't know it from the amount of people commenting on my Mega Man weakness video that stars aren't actually made out of fire and water would just add to a star's total mass. I know that stars aren't actually made out of fire, guys. I was just speaking colloquially. Stars are extremely hot and we tend to associate heat with fire. But anyways, speaking of stars, Starman from Mega Man 5 and Galaxy Man from Mega Man 9 were both designed to work in outer space. Remember, Astro Man was made to be used in a planetarium, and he doesn't actually, go to space or anything. Both of their stages are even set in outer space. Starman in particular was designed specifically for space exploration. As it turns out, robots have had great success in regards to space exploration. We've been using unmanned spacecraft to explore the planets for years, and with the rise in artificial intelligence, some have speculated if we could use humanoid robots as space explorers to complement human astronauts. The first humanoid robot to be used in space, Robonaut, was created all the way back in 2000, and a more advanced humanoid robot called the Valkyrie was created by NASA in 2013. These robots can be used to do more tedious tasks like repair, allowing astronauts to spend more time exploring and doing research. In fact, some have speculated that robots might replace human astronauts, as they're less expensive, more resilient, and don't need oxygen. According to Lord Martin Rees, the UK's Astronomer Royal, robots are developing fast, and the case for sending humans is getting weaker all the time. I don't think any taxpayers' money should be used to send humans into space. So robots like Starman and Galaxy Man don't seem like they're too far off from reality. A lot of video games that have water levels also have bosses that are fought underwater. Mega Man is no exception. We've seen many Robot Masters who are fought underwater, like Bubble Man and Bubble Man's girlfriend. Yes, I do ship Bubble Man and Splash Woman. Now, because a lot of electronics stop working when they're underwater, you'd think it would be kinda hard to make an underwater robot. However, as it turns out, underwater robots are often used right now to get a closer look at the ocean, especially in areas that are too deep for scuba divers. Autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs, are underwater robots that are pre-programmed to do certain tasks and make decisions based on sensor input. They can cover very large areas without having to be tethered to a boat or submarine, and are extensively used in oceanography and when looking for offshore oil. In addition, advances in artificial intelligence are leading to the development of smarter and more adaptable underwater robots. Like with space robots, underwater robots are made of stronger materials than people are and don't need to breathe, so this will be something we'll see a lot more as time goes by. I've saved the best one for last. This one is really gonna blow your mind. If you know anything about Mega Man lore, you've probably heard of Ceratanium, or ceramic titanium. In the Mega Man universe, it's a titanium alloy created by Dr. Light that is used for many of the robots in the series, including for Mega Man's armor. But what if I told you that Ceratanium is real? In 2022, a Swiss watch company called IWC Schaffhausen created a new alloy of titanium that has ceramic properties. It's made using a titanium alloy smelted specifically for IWC, which is then heated up to extremely high temperatures to make it tougher and more scratch resistant. And what did they decide to call this new alloy? Ceratanium! It really makes you wonder if the people who named it were Mega Man fans. Of course, as of right now, it's being exclusively used for their luxury watches, but I'm sure that in the future it will expand to things like scissors, saw blades, and armor. With all this taken into account, I think we're well on our way for Mega Man to become real. I mean, we've still got 75 years to invent all the other stuff. And my great-grandma lived to be 99, so there's a good chance I'll be alive to see it all. Or at least be alive to become disappointed when the future goes in a more post-apocalyptic direction. Anyways, if you liked the video, or are just impressed by the fact that I have the confidence to wear a crop top on camera, be sure to like and subscribe. Also, I have a Patreon now! For just $3 a month, you can support my career and get access to bloopers and bonus content that I couldn't stretch out into a full scripted video. Until next time, stay stylish.